In the vast darkness of the galaxy, among shining stars and drifting ships, humanity was still new. Barely 100 years had passed since humans had joined the Galactic Council, a place ruled by ancient and powerful alien races. To the old species, humans were nothing special. They were small, fragile, and came from a blue planet with only one moon. They had no claws, no scales, no natural armor. Their homeworld wasn't even in the main trade routes. The great alien empires looked at them and laughed. They called humans the soft ones. They said humanity was good only for cleaning ships and carrying boxes. At first, humans didn't care. They worked quietly, they traded, they learned. But in the grand halls of the Galactic Council, the laughter grew louder every year. The Carzel tall reptilian warriors would joke. Give a Terran a gun, and he'll shoot his own foot before hitting the target. A species of sharp-minded insectoids would say, humans talk too much about bravery. That's what weak things do when they have nothing else. And every time, humans smiled. They didn't fight back with words. They simply watched, remembered, and kept building. The War Games, every year. The Galactic Council held the War Games, a massive military simulation where different species showed their strength. It wasn't a real war, but close enough to prove who deserved respect. No human team had ever passed the first round. They always lost early, and the galaxy laughed even harder. But this year, something was different. A small human crew joined under the name Terran Division 9, just 12 soldiers. They were led by Captain Mara Hale, a woman known for her calm face and sharp eyes. She didn't speak much. Her crew was a mix of soldiers, scientists, and engineers, no famous warriors among them. When the alien commentators announced their names, the laughter echoed again. Ah, the humans are back. Ready to lose in the first 10 minutes? Maybe they came to sweep the battlefield afterward. Even the Predator King himself, ruler of the Galactic Dominion, a species feared across 100 systems, was said to have smiled at the mention of humanity's team. He was watching the event from his private warship, the Bloodfang, surrounded by his elite hunters. The Rathkar were born for war. Their king, Varkon, had never been defeated in battle. He was a creature of muscle, claws, and burning red eyes, a symbol of raw strength. When he saw the small human squad enter the arena, he laughed and said, "Let them try. It will be good entertainment before the real battles begin." The arena of Stelva War Games began inside a massive arena, a floating station filled with metal corridors, traps, and drone enemies. Thousands of spectators watched through holograms. When the human squad entered, the crowd jeered. The alien teams Varel, Carzel, and the armored Dravok moved through the maze like predators. Roaring and fighting, the humans, however, moved quietly. Captain Mara ordered her team to split into pairs, placing small sensors and mines at every corner. She didn't rush. Other species saw that and laughed even more. They're too scared to fight. They think hiding will help them. But minutes later, the laughter began to fade. The Carzel team turned a corner, and their front warrior triggered a human mine. The explosion disabled half the squad in an instant. Drones attacked from behind, guided by human sensors. The crowd gasped. Captain Mara's voice echoed through her team's comms. "Stay calm. Move to Sector B. They'll expect aggression. Give them patience." One by one, the humans used traps, strategy, and timing. They didn't fight with strength. They fought with thinking. By the end of the first round, only 3 teams were left: the Dravok, the Vrel, and the humans. The Predator King watches in his dark throne room aboard the Bloodfang. Varkin leaned forward. The laughter had stopped. His hunters were silent. The human captain moved through the simulation like she had played it 100 times. Her calmness was unnatural. The Predator King watched as a Vrel ambush surrounded the humans, 10 against 3. The odds were hopeless. But then, something strange happened. Mara threw a smoke bomb. And while the Vrel couldn't see, she fired an electromagnetic pulse. It disabled their cloaking devices. Her soldiers came from behind and took them down, not killing, but outsmarting them completely. For the first time in history, A human squad made it to the final round. The audience was silent. The announcer's voice cracked as he said, and the humans advance. No one clapped. No one believed it, except one, Varkan, the Predator King. A low growl came from his chest, but it wasn't anger. It was interest. He turned to his second-in-command and said, "Those eyes, that calm. She hunts like a Rathkar." He wanted to know who she was. The end of the beginning, when the round ended, Captain Mara removed her helmet. Sweat rolled down her neck, but her face stayed still. She didn't celebrate. She simply whispered to her team, 1 round down. 6 to go. The alien spectators left the arena, muttering. The laughter had turned to quiet whispers. The humans walked away together, heads high, eyes forward. From the shadows of the upper gallery, a red-eyed figure watched them leave. The Predator, King, tall and armored, stood in silence. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then a small smile crossed his face. "The galaxy laughed at humanity," he said softly. "Let's see if they're still laughing when I'm done." He didn't know yet, but that moment would change the galaxy forever. The war games were just a game for everyone else. But for him, and for her, it was the beginning of something much greater. Something no one could laugh at. Again, the arena lights dimmed as the first round ended. The crowd began to leave, still murmuring in disbelief. No one had expected humans to survive. Not against the Karzel and the Vrel. Not in front of the whole galaxy. But they did. And now, the galaxy didn't laugh. It whispered, the Predator King's curiosity, high above the arena. Inside the command deck of the Bloodfang, the Predator King Varkan stood in silence. The other alien leaders had left the holo channel, yet he remained, watching the playback of the human victory again and again. On the screen, Captain Mara Hale moved through smoke and fire like a ghost, calm, sharp, unstoppable. Varkan's claw tapped the armrest of his throne. He was not a creature of patience, but tonight he was intrigued. "Show me her record," he ordered. His advisor, a smaller Rathkar with scarred scales, obeyed quickly. Mara Hale, human, age 34. Former soldier, no special genetic traits, no augmentation. Her planet's military classified her as average. The king's red eyes narrowed. "Average," he growled. "Yes, my king, average by human standards." For a long moment, silence filled the chamber. Then Varkan laughed, a deep, rumbling sound that echoed off the metal walls. "If this is their average, then I must see their best." He leaned forward, his claws tightening on the throne. Something had changed in him, a spark of respect, perhaps something more dangerous. The human camp, meanwhile. Deep in the lower levels of the arena station, Captain Mara sat with her team. They were tired but smiling. For the first time, the humans had made it past round 1. Their small camp was quiet. A pot of synthetic coffee steamed in the center as they checked their weapons. Private Allen, the youngest, grinned. "Did you see their faces when we beat the Vrel? Priceless." Lieutenant Brooks chuckled. "They thought we'd run. Instead, we made them choke on smoke and EMPs." But Mara didn't laugh. She stared at the holographic map, eyes cold and calculating. "They're not laughing anymore," she said softly, "and that's the problem." Her team looked at her in confusion. "What do you mean, Captain?" She sighed. "When predators stop laughing, they start hunting." The room fell silent. They all knew she was right. The next rounds would be harder, not just because of stronger opponents, but because now everyone would be watching them. The summons hours later, a metallic chime echoed through the human camp. A tall, armored guard entered. Not human, not friendly. His armor carried the mark of the Galactic Dominion. "Captain Mara Hale," he announced in a deep, mechanical voice. "You are summoned. By order of the Predator King." Every human in the room froze. Private Allen whispered, "The Predator King. Why would he want to see her?" Mara didn't answer. She simply stood, holstered her pistol, and said, "Hold position. If I'm not back in 1 hour, leave the camp." Brooks tried to stop her. "Captain, this could be a trap." "Everything in this galaxy is a trap, Lieutenant," she replied. "But we don't run from it. We walk in, eyes open." And with that, she followed the Wrathkar guard into the long, silent corridor. The path led her to a docking bay lit by crimson lights. At the center waited a massive warship, the Bloodfang, dark as night and marked with scars from 100 battles. When Mara stepped aboard, the temperature dropped. The air smelled faintly of iron and ozone. 2 more Wrathkar guards escorted her into a large chamber, the throne room. There he sat, Varkan, the Predator King, over 8 feet tall, covered in scaled armor that shimmered under the red lights. His eyes burned like molten fire, locked onto her. For a long moment, neither spoke. Finally, Varkan's deep voice broke the silence. "You fought well, Terran." Mara stood straight, meeting his gaze without fear. "We fought smart, not strong." King tilted his head, amused. "Smart. That is not a word most species use in war. They prefer loud. Loud gets you killed." Mara replied simply. A low growl of approval came from the king's chest. He rose from his throne and walked slowly toward her. The ground trembled slightly with each step. When he stopped, he stood close enough for her to see her reflection in his red eyes. "Tell me, Captain," he said softly. "Why do you fight? The galaxy mocks your kind. You are weak, fragile. What drives you to stand in an arena full of monsters?" Mara didn't blink. "Because someone has to remind monsters that humans bite back." For the first time in years, the Predator King smiled. Not the mocking kind, a real one, sharp and dangerous. "I see," he murmured. "You are not like the others." "Neither are you," she answered. The chamber fell silent again. For a few seconds, it felt like the air itself was holding its breath. Then, without another word, Varkan turned away. "Return to your team," he said. "But remember, Captain, I will be watching your next battle." "Oh." The whisper spreads when Mara returned to camp. Her team surrounded her immediately. "What happened?" Alan asked. "Did he threaten you?" She shook her head. "No, he asked me why we fight, and I told him the truth." Brooks frowned. "He's dangerous, Captain." "If he's watching us, that's not good." Mara looked toward the dark window where the massive shadow of the Bloodfang drifted among the stars. "No," she said quietly. "It's not good. It's worse. He's curious." And curiosity from a predator was never a safe thing. The storm ahead that night, the humans couldn't sleep. Across the arena, alien spectators whispered about the meeting between the Predator King and the Terran. Captain, some said the king wanted to recruit her. Others said he wanted to hunt her. But the truth was something far stranger. For the first time, a predator of the galaxy had looked at humanity not as prey, not as a joke, but as an equal. And deep inside the Bloodfang, Varkan stood by the viewport, staring at the small human camp far below. His claws rested on the glass as he whispered to himself, "Let them laugh no more. Let them see what Terrans truly are." The stars outside flickered like cold fire. The next round of the war games was coming. And this time, the king himself would watch, not as an observer, but as a hunter who had finally found something worth chasing. The artificial sun rose over the metallic horizon of the war games arena. Its cold light reflected off the broken walls and steel debris left from the first battle. The next round was about to begin, and this time, the humans weren't the joke anymore. Across the galaxy, billions tuned in to watch. Some expected the humans to fail quickly. Others wanted to see if their first victory had been luck or skill. And a few, very few, had begun to wonder if there was something dangerous hiding behind those calm, Terran eyes. The Predator King watches from his flagship. The Bloodfang, the Predator King Varkan, sat before a wide holoscreen. The room around him was silent except for the hum of the ship's engines. His elite hunters stood behind him, waiting for orders, but the king said nothing. His eyes stayed fixed on the human squad's small blue signal on the map. "Activate private surveillance," he commanded. A red holographic light blinked to life, showing Captain Mara and her soldiers preparing for battle. They moved with quiet precision, checking weapons, syncing visors, testing communications. Varkan studied every movement, every word. He wasn't watching for entertainment anymore. He was watching to understand. The second round, the voice of the galactic announcer boomed across the arena. Round 2 begins. Operation Steel Storm. The objective: capture the control tower in Zone Delta. 4 teams entered the massive arena map. The insectoid Vrel Command, the brute Karzal Bloodclaws, the stealthy Threx Hunters, and the humans Terran Division 9. The arena terrain was a city in ruins, tall skyscrapers, burning metal and smoke drifting in the air. Mara crouched behind a fallen building. Her team spread across rooftops and tunnels. All units move silent, she ordered. Let the others fight each other first. And just as she predicted, chaos soon erupted. The Karzal and Threx collided in a violent clash, gunfire, plasma bolts, and thunderous roars. While they fought, the humans slipped through the shadows like ghosts. They didn't waste bullets. They didn't shout. They moved with purpose. Private Allen whispered, "Captain, we're closing on the tower. But sensors show movement ahead." Mara's voice stayed calm. "Then it's not movement. It's an opportunity." A trap in the shadows. As the humans approached the control tower, the ground trembled. A massive explosion erupted from the left. A trap. The debris scattered, cutting off their exit. Out of the smoke came the Vrel, their exoskeletons gleaming in the firelight. They surrounded the humans, clicking and hissing. "Terrans," one of them shouted through its translator. "We remember your tricks from the last round. No smoke will save you this time." Alan swallowed hard. "Captain orders." Mara scanned the area quickly. 5. Vrel in front, 2 behind, 2 close for retreat. She looked at the ground. Wires, loose metal, an old energy conduit, broken but alive. "Hold positions," she said softly. Then she reached into her belt and pulled out a small EMP charge. "On my mark. 3, 2, 1. A blinding blue pulse exploded across the street. The Vrel's cloaks failed instantly. Their weapons shorted out. Before they could recover, the humans opened fire, controlled, precise, and merciless. In 10 seconds, it was over. 7 Vrel down. The Predator's test high above. On the Bloodfang, the Predator King watched the battle closely. His red eyes narrowed in thought. "They adapt faster than I expected," he murmured. His advisor, a scarred Rathkar, spoke carefully. "Should we interfere, my king?" Varkan's claws flexed. "No, not yet. But let's see what they do under pressure." He pressed a command key. Without warning, the arena's drones, supposed to remain neutral until the next phase, suddenly activated early. Hundreds of them. They swarmed the skies, targeting everything that moved. The other alien teams shouted in anger and confusion. But the humans adjusted. "The storm of drones, Captain." "Drones incoming, hundreds," Brooks shouted. Mara didn't panic. She dropped to one knee, scanning the skyline. "They've changed the schedule," she muttered. "Good, we'll change the rules." She opened her wrist console and tapped into the city's old defense grid, an old broken system the other teams ignored. "Come on, work," she whispered. A few sparks. Then green light. The tower's ancient autocannons came alive, turning their barrels toward the drones. The air filled with thunder as the cannons fired. Cutting the sky with laser fire, the humans ran between the explosions, moving in rhythm with the chaos they had created. When the smoke cleared, the control tower stood empty. The Terrans were already inside. They captured the objective, the galaxy. Axe. The entire arena shook with the roar of disbelief. "Impossible," shouted one commentator. "How can a species with no natural armor, no claws, no strength, survive 2 rounds?" The galactic network flooded with messages. Are humans cheating? How can they think like that? Did the Predator King help them? Even the council leaders demanded a review, but Varkan said nothing. He just watched. Silent and still, his eyes fixed on Mara Hale's image as she raised the human flag over the control tower. Something burned inside him, not anger, not jealousy. Something older, respect. After the storm, when the round ended, the humans retreated to their camp once more. They were tired, dirty, and bruised, but alive. Alan laughed as he tossed his helmet onto the ground. 2 rounds, Captain. We actually did it. Brooks nodded, still breathing hard. They'll have to stop laughing now. But Mara didn't smile. She stood by the small window, staring at the stars. They won't stop, she said quietly. Not until they understand us. And that's what scares them. A moment of silence passed. Then she looked up, her expression cold and sharp. And that's what we'll use. The Predator's realization back aboard the Bloodfang. Varkon turned off the display. The room was silent. She learns too quickly, he said. His advisor hesitated. Shall we? Eliminate them, my king. The Predator King's claws tightened, scratching lines into the metal armrest. No, he growled. To kill them now would be wasteful. He stood, his shadow stretching across the chamber. A true predator does not destroy what fascinates him. He studies it. He walked to the viewport and looked out at the small human camp. She fights like a hunter born, he whispered, but she does not know it yet. Then his red eyes glowed brighter. Let's teach her what it means to be hunted. The metallic sky of the arena glowed red. Lightning cracked across the artificial clouds, and the sound of thunder echoed through the massive wargame station. Round 3 was about to begin. Every species in the galaxy was watching. Humans had done the impossible twice. That had changed everything. The jokes were gone. Now there was only curiosity, and fear whispers in the dark in the control rooms of the Galactic Council. Alien officials argued loudly. This cannot be allowed. Humans are manipulating the system. No species that young should outperform the Vrel. Maybe the Predator King is protecting them. The rumors spread like fire. Some believed the humans had secret technology. Others said the Predator King wanted to use them for his own war. But no one truly understood what was happening. Not yet, because far above, inside his flagship Bloodfang, the Predator King Varkon stood before the arena's private control console. His personal access to the wargame system, his claws moved across the holographic panel. Increase the difficulty, he ordered quietly. Unleash the predators. His advisor hesitated. My king, the humans will not survive this round. Varkun's red eyes glowed. Then they are not worthy of my interest. He leaned back, his voice deep and calm. But if they survive, I will know their true nature. The human camp captain, Mara Hale, sat inside the dimly lit command tent. Her team was silent, cleaning weapons and repairing armor. The air smelled of oil and sweat. Private Allen finally broke the silence. They changed the arena again, Captain. It's jungle terrain this time. Something feels off. Lieutenant Brooks frowned. Yeah, the sensors picked up biological life. That's new. The last 2 rounds were empty cities. Ada stared at the mission screen. Her instincts screamed that something was wrong. It's a test, she said softly. Someone wants to see what we do when the rules change. You think they're cheating? Alan asked. She shook her head. No, they're watching. Her voice dropped lower. He's watching. No one dared to ask who she meant. They already knew. Into the wild, the arena gates opened. The humans stepped into a thick alien jungle. Tall red trees, glowing vines, and mist that smelled like metal. Strange noises echoed through the distance. Low growls, clicking sounds, movement in the shadows. Stay tight, Mara ordered. Watch the tree line. Move slow. The jungle was alive. Eyes glimmered from the dark. Heat signatures danced on their visors, too many to count. Captain Brooks whispered, I've got movement. Lots of it. Closing fast. Positions, Mara said calmly. They formed a circle, weapons ready. A moment later, first predator leapt from the trees, a massive creature with black scales and 4 glowing eyes. It roared, shaking the ground. The humans opened fire, bullets and plasma lighting up the jungle. The beast fell, but 3 more came right behind it. They're everywhere. Alan shouted. Mara stayed calm, even as the creatures charged. Fall back to the ridge. Use elevation. They ran uphill, firing in bursts. The creatures were faster, claws slicing through metal, teeth breaking armor. Brooks was knocked down by one of them.
Oh.
Mara turned, shooting it point blank in the head before it could kill him. "On your feet, Lieutenant." Blood splattered across her face, but her eyes stayed cold. They reached the top of the ridge and regrouped. Below them, dozens of glowing eyes stared up from the jungle. Alan gasped. "Captain, what are those things?" Mara wiped the sweat from her forehead. "Predators," she said quietly. "And this is their nest." The Predator King's observation and the Bloodfang. Varkon watched in silence. His claws drummed slowly on the armrest of his throne. "She adapts again," he murmured. "No panic, no chaos. Just focus." His advisor frowned. "My king, they cannot last much longer. The beasts will tear them apart." Varkon leaned forward. "Then they will earn their death." But deep down, a part of him didn't want that. He wanted to see how far they could go, how far she could go. So he changed the test again. "Deactivate half the predators," he ordered. "Release the hunters." "Hunters, my king." "My own." Hunters from the sky, the air above the jungle, split open as dropships roared through the clouds. They were not part of the war games. Their black holes carried the mark of the wrath. Dominion, the Predator King's own forces. Mara looked up as the sky thundered. "Incoming," she shouted. Elite Rathkar hunters dropped from the ships landing like shadows, tall, armored, and carrying energy spears. The crowd watching across the galaxy went silent. "This isn't part of the war games," one commentator screamed. "What is the Predator King doing?" But Mara didn't have time to think. The hunters advanced in perfect formation, surrounding her team. Brooks shouted, "Captain, they're not attacking the other teams, only us." "Figures," Mara muttered. "We've become the main event." The first hunter lunged. Mara blocked the spear with her rifle, twisting and shooting point blank. The alien fell, roaring in pain. Her team followed, fighting hard. But these weren't arena opponents. These were trained killers. Alan was grabbed by one, thrown into a tree, his armor cracking. "Alan," Mara screamed, firing again. The hunter turned toward her and stopped. For a moment, their eyes met. Then, through its helmet's communicator, came a familiar voice. "Enough." The hunters froze. The voice came from the sky, deep, commanding, powerful. The Predator King himself had entered the arena. The Predator descends. The Bloodfang's massive silhouette blocked out the artificial sun. A red beam descended, and from it Varkon appeared, his armor glowing faintly, his presence overwhelming. The entire galaxy watched in stunned silence. He walked through the jungle fire, each step shaking the ground. The hunters bowed as he passed. Captain Mara stood her ground, weapon raised. "You broke your own rules," she said. The king stopped a few meters away, towering over her. His voice was calm. "The weak obey rules, Captain. The strong make them." She didn't lower her gun. "So what am I now? Your experiment?" A slow, dangerous smile spread across his face. "No," he said softly. "You are my proof." "Proof of what?" she demanded. "That humanity belongs among predators." Before she could reply, the arena alarms blared. The council was shutting down the round emergency lockdown. The feed cut across the galaxy, but in those last seconds, billions saw something that no one would ever forget: a human captain standing unshaken before the most feared predator in the galaxy. Silence. That was all that remained after the chaos. The war games had been stopped for the first time in galactic history. The arena was dark, its lights flickering like dying stars. Captain Mara Hale stood in the middle of the ruined jungle, her armor scorched, her weapon low. Around her lay the wreckage of destroyed drones and fallen hunters, not enemies, but victims of something far bigger. Her team gathered near her, confused and frightened. Captain Brooks said quietly, "What just happened?" Mara didn't answer. She looked toward the sky, where the Bloodfang hovered like a silent monster above the arena. Something had changed in her, in the galaxy, in everything. The aftermath hours. Later, the humans were escorted to a holding chamber inside the War Games station. Guards surrounded them. They weren't treated as heroes anymore. Alien reporters shouted through the glass walls, "Human treachery." The Predator King interfered. "The war games are over." Mara's jaw tightened. She didn't respond. She simply sat at the metal table, staring at her reflection in the surface. Her team whispered among themselves. "They think we cheated. They think we worked with him. We didn't even know he was coming." But none of it mattered. The council had already made its decision. The humans were to be investigated, and their victories were under review. The galaxy that had once laughed at them now hated them. The council's judgment. The council chamber was a vast room of glass and gold. The most powerful species in the galaxy sat in their floating seats, cold, distant, judgmental. At the center stood Captain Mara Hale, alone. A Vrel official hissed, "You humans have disrupted our sacred games. You brought the Predator King into the arena. Explain this betrayal." Mara's voice was steady. "We didn't summon him. He came on his own." The Dravik representative slammed his fist. "Lies. No species dares interfere in the games without a reason. You must have conspired with him." Mara met his gaze. "If we had his help, do you think we'd still be standing here, accused and surrounded?" The room fell silent. Even the Vrel paused. Then, a new voice filled the chamber, deep and commanding. Enough. Every official turned. The massive doors opened, and Varkan, the Predator King, entered. His armor gleamed, his red eyes glowing faintly. Guards moved aside without being told. "The humans did not call me," he said. "I came because I wished to see strength, and I saw it." The council members murmured angrily. "You violated the code of neutrality," one shouted. "I obey no council," Varkan growled. "Your codes are chains for the weak. I came to test them, and they passed." He turned his gaze toward Mara. "They fought with honor." Mara didn't look away, but her voice was cold. "We, or were we just part of your entertainment?" The words hung in the air like a blade. Even the Predator King hesitated for a heartbeat. Doubt and distance after the hearing. Mara's team was placed under restricted movement. They weren't prisoners, not yet, but they weren't free either. Inside the small quarters, the team argued quietly. Alan paced the floor. "This is insane. We should be celebrated, not locked up." Brooks leaned against the wall. "They're scared. Every alien in the galaxy saw the king step into the arena for us. They think we're his pets." Mara stood by the window, staring out at the endless void of space. "We're not anyone's pets," she said softly. "We never were." We want to red eyes for Why did he help us? She didn't answer. She didn't know. All she could remember were his words. "You are my proof." Proof of what? That humans could survive among monsters? Or proof that even predators could feel curiosity? She didn't know which was worse. The Predator's visit later that night, the door to her quarters hissed open. The guards didn't stop him, they wouldn't dare. Varkan entered, silent as a storm. The lights dimmed slightly, as if the air itself feared him. Mara stood, eyes cold but calm. "You shouldn't be here yet." "I am," he said. His voice was softer this time, almost thoughtful. "You caused this," she said. "You turned the whole galaxy against us." "I revealed the truth," he replied. "The truth that you are not weak. We didn't need you to prove that." For a moment the great Predator said nothing. Then he stepped closer, lowering his tone. "You misunderstand, Captain. I did not come to protect you. I came to see if you were worth protecting." Her hands clenched into fists. "And what's your answer?" His red eyes burned brighter. "You are dangerous." "Good," she said. "Then stay out of our way." For the first time, He smiled, not mocking, but proud. "Defiance," he said softly. "That's what makes your kind interesting." He turned to leave, then paused at the door. "They will come for you, Captain. The Council fears what it cannot control. Be ready." And then he was gone, leaving behind only silence and the faint scent of ozone. The storm bruised the next day. New orders arrived from the Council. Human participation in the war games was suspended. All human ships were to be recalled. Captain Mara Hale was to be detained for questioning. When the guards came, her team stood in front of her. "You'll have to go through us first," Brooks said. The guards hesitated. The situation was seconds from turning violent when the station alarms began to scream. Red lights flashed. The ground shook. Outside, the void filled with moving shadows. Warships. Hundreds of them. Rathkar warships. The Predator King had returned. The Council guards froze, panic spreading. A message came through the comms. "This is King Varkan of the Rathkar Dominion. Stand down. The Terrans are under my protection." The Council tried to respond, but the King's fleet blocked all channels. The galaxy watched in silence, as one of its oldest predators defied the Council for humans. The break of trust inside her quarters. Mara watched the chaos through the window, the Council's ships forming ranks, the Predator King's fleet surrounding them. Alan whispered. "He came for us," Brooks muttered. "No, he came for her." Mara didn't move. Her voice was quiet, steady, and cold. "He's forcing our hand. Now the whole galaxy thinks we belong to him." She turned toward the dark sky where the blood fang loomed like a shadow over everything. "He saved us," Alan said carefully. "No," Mara replied. "He trapped us." Her eyes hardened. "And I don't know which side I'll have to fight next. The Council, or him." The galaxy was burning not with fire, but with fear. Every news channel, every holoscreen, every alien market was filled with one story. The Predator King had claimed a human. It didn't matter if it was true or not. Rumor had already become reality, for the first time in centuries. The Great Galactic Council faced a threat they couldn't control, a war that had begun not with armies, but with a single decision to protect one Terran, the siege of the Council station outside the wargame station. Hundreds of Rathkar warships surrounded the area, their black hulls blocking starlight. The Predator King's flagship, Bloodfang, stood at the center, silent, powerful and watching inside. Chaos spread through every corridor. Guards shouted orders. Diplomats ran from room to room. The air was thick with tension and electric hums from overworked shields. Captain Mara Hale stood at the observation deck, her eyes fixed on the dark void where alien warships faced each other. Behind her, Brooks and Alan whispered. "He's going to start a war over us," Brooks said quietly. Over her, Alan corrected. Mara didn't respond. She could feel it. Every alien eye in the galaxy was watching. Every decision she made now could decide the fate of her entire species. The Council's fear down in the Council chamber. Panic was turning to anger. The Vrel delegate slammed his claws against the table. "The Predator King defies us. We must strike before his fleet reaches the inner systems," the Dravik general hissed. "And risk total war? His forces are older than our fleets combined." The High Speaker, a tall silver being of light, raised a hand for silence. "We cannot allow a single predator to claim dominance over our laws," it said. "The humans will be returned to Earth for containment. Containment. Not protection. Not safety. Containment like dangerous animals." But even as they spoke, alarms echoed through the chamber. "Incoming transmission from the Bloodfang." The lights dimmed. The holographic form of Varkan, the Predator King, appeared above them. "Council of Cowards," he said, his deep voice shaking the walls. "You call yourselves rulers, but you tremble at one human. You have violated our treaties," the High Speaker shouted. "Treaties are for equals," Varkan growled, "and you are not my equals." He looked down, his glowing red eyes piercing through the hologram. "The Terrans fought with honor. You mock them because they remind you of what you've lost. Courage. Then his tone shifted, low and dangerous. Touch them, and I will turn your skies to ash. The transmission ended, leaving silence in its wake. A choice between worlds hours later. Mara was escorted to a private chamber. Waiting inside was an unlikely visitor, Ambassador Rintel, thin-scaled alien who had once mocked her before the games began. Now he looked nervous. "Captain Hell," he said softly, "the council is terrified. They plan to surrender you to the king. Surrender me." She repeated coldly, "Yes, they believe if they hand you over, he will leave. They want peace at your cost." Mara turned to the window, where the bloodfang glowed like a red moon. "And what happens to humanity?" she asked. Rintel's eyes flickered. "Earth will be isolated. Protected, they will say. Controlled in truth." Mara's fists tightened. "So we become prisoners again. If you run," Rintel whispered, "he will follow. If you stay, the council will destroy themselves trying to get rid of you. Either way, the galaxy burns because of you." Mara's voice was quiet. "Then maybe it's time the galaxy burns for the right reason." The Predator's confession that night. When the lights dimmed and the noise faded, the air shimmered. Varkan appeared not through force, but as a shadow in her room. "You should not be here," Mara said without turning. "Neither should you," he replied. He stepped closer, towering but calm. His armor was cracked, his face marked with scars that looked older than most civilizations. "Why are you doing this?" she asked finally. "You could destroy them all. Why wait?" Varkan's gaze softened. "Because war without purpose is slaughter. I seek balance." "Balance?" She laughed bitterly. "You've surrounded the council with warships." "To protect you," he said. "No," she replied, facing him now. "To own me." For the first time, his expression changed. Pain, faint but real. "I do not own what I respect," he said quietly. "You fight as I once did when my kind still remembered what honor meant." He took a step closer. "You reminded me of something I thought was gone." Ara's eyes narrowed. "And what happens when your council finds out you've gone soft for a human?" He smiled, a sad, dangerous smile. "Then I will show them what softness can destroy." The beginning of the war without warning. The alarm screamed again, louder, sharper, desperate. Brooks burst into Mara's room. "Captain, the council's fleet just fired. They hit one of the Rathkar ships." The walls shook. Outside the windows, streaks of light crossed the darkness. Laser fire. Explosions. Chaos. Mara rushed to the control room. Screens showed the impossible. The council's forces and the Wrath are exchanging fire. A war had started. The cum crackled. "Human vessel," said a deep voice. "Varkan, your people are not safe. Come aboard the Bloodfang now." Mara hesitated. "Captain," Alan shouted. "If we stay here, we die." But Mara's eyes were on the screen, ships burning, smaller vessels trying to escape, the chaos of pride and fear. "He caused this," she whispered. "All of it." "Maybe," Brooks said, "but he's the only one who can stop it now." Mara took a deep breath. "Prepare the shuttle." A dangerous alliance, the shuttle flew through debris and explosions, weaving between burning ships. When it landed in the Bloodfang's hangar, hundreds of Rathkar warriors bowed as Mara stepped out. Varkan stood waiting, surrounded by his guards. "You came," he said. "To stop you," she replied. He laughed softly. "Then you will need more than courage." Mara glared. "You say you respect humans. Prove it. End this war." For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he turned toward the viewing window. "You wish for peace, Captain Hale? Then stand beside me before the galaxy and claim what is already yours." "And what's that?" "Power." The shadow grows outside. The war raged on. Ships burned. Worlds trembled. The galaxy watched, terrified, as two beings, one human. One predator stood at the edge of something new. Mara looked at him, realizing the truth. This was never about mercy. It was about legacy. If she accepted his offer, she could end the war, but at the cost of her freedom. If she refused, humanity might not survive. Her heart pounded. "You want me to stand beside you?" she said slowly. "Yes, then you'll have to earn it." The Predator King smiled, and let the galaxy bear witness. Outside, the Bloodfang's engines roared. The War of Shadows had truly begun. The galaxy stood on the edge of destruction. The Wrathkar fleet surrounded the Council's armada. Explosions painted the void with fire. Whole worlds watched through their holoscreens, frozen, waiting to see who would fall first, the ancient Predator King or the stubborn Terran captain who refused to bow. Inside the Bloodfang, the air shook with the sound of war. Captain Mara Hale stood at the command bridge beside Varkan. His towering figure loomed over her, his red eyes watching the chaos below. "You see it now?" he said. "Fear drives them. They would rather destroy themselves than admit your worth." "This isn't about fear," Mara replied. "It's pride. It's the same pride that brought you here." He looked down at her, not with anger, but with something colder. "And what drives you, Captain? Survival or vengeance?" Mara didn't answer. Outside, another council ship exploded in silence, its fragments scattering like ashes in the dark. The turning point back on the council station, panic spread. Diplomats screamed. Commanders shouted over comms. The High Speaker's voice echoed. "Activate the Nova Barrier. Do not let the Predator fleet reach the core." A beam of light shot out from the station, a weapon of last resort, meant to destroy everything within range. On the Bloodfang, alarms wailed. "King, the station is charging a Nova pulse," a Wrathkar officer roared. Varkan turned to Mara. "They would rather die than surrender. Your people are learning from the wrong teachers." "Then stop them," Mara said firmly. "You have the power. Prove you're not just another monster." For a moment, the king said nothing. His claws flexed against the metal railing. "You ask me to show mercy to those who would destroy you? I'm asking you to show you're better than them," she said. The words hung in the air like a challenge. Varkan looked out at the battlefield and then slowly raised his hand. "All ships," he commanded, "cease fire." The order echoed through the fleet. One by one, the Wrathkar weapons fell silent. The council ships hesitated, confused. The battlefield went eerily still. The human choice Mara stepped forward, activating the comms channel to the entire galaxy. Voice echoed across thousands of worlds. "This is Captain Mara Hale, of the Terran Defense Fleet. You call us weak. You laugh at our courage. You call us primitive. But here we are, standing between your wars, refusing to kneel." The camera showed her standing beside the Predator King, small, fragile, yet unbroken. "We are not prey. We are not pawns. We are humanity, and we choose our own destiny." Her voice rang out like thunder across the void. Even the alien fleets listening in their distant systems paused. On worlds light years away, children stared at her image, seeing a human defying the galaxy's oldest predators. Varkan looked at her with something close to awe. "You speak like a ruler." "No," Mara said. "I speak like someone who's done being ruled." The council's desperation, but peace was fragile. Inside the council chamber, chaos turned to fury. "She dares use our network. The Predator King controls her. End this now." The High Speaker raised its glowing hand. "Fire the Nova weapon. Destroy them both." The light in the chamber brightened as the weapon charged enough to tear through both fleets, enough to end everything. The Predator's sacrifice on the Bloodfang, sensors screamed. "They've activated the Nova Core," Brooke shouted. Mara's heart pounded. "How much time?" 30 seconds. Varkan turned toward the display. The explosion would destroy them all, human, predator, council alike. Mara looked at him. "Can you stop it?" "No," he said quietly, "but I can contain it." Before she could respond, he moved toward the main control pillar. "Wait," she shouted. "You'll die." "Every king must choose his end," he said. His armor glowed with red light, placed his clawed hand on the ship's power core, connecting his energy directly to the ship. The Bloodfang system screamed, the hull trembling under the force. Outside, the Nova weapon released, a blinding sphere of white energy tearing through space. The Bloodfang moved forward, shields expanding outward. Wrapping around both fleets like a cocoon of crimson fire, the blast hit. For a moment, the universe went white. Then silence. When the light faded, the station was gone. The Council's fleet was crippled. But the Bloodfang still floated, half destroyed, but alive. Varkin fell to one knee, smoke rising from his armor. Mara ran to him. "Stay with me." He looked at her, his eyes dimming. "You wanted proof of what makes humanity strong," he whispered. "Now you have it. Compassion." "Don't you die on me," she said. He smiled faintly. "The galaxy will remember you, Terran." And then the Predator King, the most feared being in the stars, bowed his head and went still. The dawn, after darkness, days passed. The fires faded, the council was broken, its fleet scattered. Many alien species began speaking of peace, not out of kindness, of fear. Humanity had survived the impossible. On Earth, cities lit up the night sky as the message spread. The Predator King had died to protect a human. Captain Mara Hale became a symbol, a living legend. The galaxy called her the Terran Queen, though she never took the title. She rebuilt the human fleet. Not for conquest, but for defense, for freedom. And somewhere, deep in the silent void, the wreck of the Bloodfang drifted among the stars. Its systems still glowed faintly, and its last transmission played on a loop. The Predators laughed at humanity, until one of them called a Terran his equal. Epilogue, the new era, years later as the stars shone over a rebuilt alliance. Children of many worlds were taught about the War of Shadows the day the galaxy changed forever. They learned that courage doesn't come from size or power, but from standing tall, even when the universe tells you to kneel, and in that quiet truth, humanity found something greater than victory. They found respect.